Hey, it's Tom, Nick and Mike here from the Run Testers. We are in Bilbao for the Bilbao Marathon and we are also testing some kit. What kit are we testing, Nick?
A big one is probably the Salomon Phantasm CF. Got these 2 days ago. It's a bit of a risk. I've done a couple of 5Ks. Let's see how they go. Also got some nice Saysky shorts, a really nice Decathlon running belt I'm testing, and then I'm going to use the Suunto Snap to GPS feature to see how accurate that is over a marathon.
Mike, what do we got?
So in terms of new stuff that I'm going to be running or racing in for the first time, I'm going to be using the Shokz OpenRun Pro for my music. I'm going to be testing the GPS performance on the Huawei Watch GT Runner against the Epics, which also I haven't raced in with either. I'm back in the Metaspeed, so I have used those for a marathon before. So yeah, those are kind of new stuff I'll be looking at for this race.
Nice.
Where are you, Tom?
I am going to be testing the Garmin Instinct 2 Solar. I'm also going to be testing the Alphaflys at a marathon, so thank you to Sports Shoes for sending those over to me to test for this marathon today.
How are you doing so far?
I'm a little bit painful for now, but we'll see how I fare in 26.2 miles. I'm also testing out the Shokz OpenRun Pros.
I'm actually on headphones. I'm using the JBuds Go Air
JLab.
The JLads. We're calling them JLads. They're 20 quid headphones.
Amateur.
20 quid headphones. I'm hoping they're going to be the business for that money.
So a lot of testing going down today.
What are you going to run, Tom?
What's the plan? The plan is, my original plan was about 3:25. My current plan is finish, based on my current mood. Mike, what are you going for?
Slightly slower than Kipchoge's Tokyo time, I think. So.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Nick, and what's your winning time going to be for this race?
Some elites here, so I'm going for Kipchoge. I haven't done training, so I'm going to ease in with a nice, steady first half and try and run a 2:45, 2:50ish.
It's a beautiful looking day in Bilbao. Hopefully we're going to get a nice course.
It's a beautiful looking day for now.
Yeah.
The race is also delayed, and we're worried the rain's going to come in.
Yeah.
It's the first time this marathon's been run. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back in 26.2 miles, and we'll let you know how our testing and our racing has gone. See you in a bit.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La casa del merengue, la y la casa de la bachata.
Now, we were going to do the roundup of the race at the end of the race, but I can't for the life of me find those two guys anywhere around here, so I'm going to head back to the hotel and we're going to do the race roundup there. See you in a bit.
Hello! We finished the Bilbao Marathon. Wow. Some of us. We're going to do an individual deep dive into our races and the kit we tested. But first, boys, general thoughts on the Bilbao Marathon, the first running of the day Bilbao Marathon.
Yeah, who wants to start?
You go.
Should I start? I mean, I was quite looking forward to this run, and actually I thought the course was quite nice until a marshal told me to go the wrong place. So I did not finish the Bilbao Marathon. I think I got to 22.5 miles. I've kind of a marshal kind of sent me down the wrong way, and I finished early when I shouldn't have. And so that's not great. I think in general the organisation was a little bit all over the place. Anyway, we started late. We haven't really had an explanation in terms of what a delay was. How long were we delayed for?
We were delayed by 30 minutes, but the 10K was delayed by an hour and a half and ended up starting with us.
Yeah, and we were obviously fortunate that we were quite close to the start line, but ultimately if you were there and that had happened, you wouldn't be too happy if you were kind of hanging around longer than you needed to be. So yeah, for me actually, I enjoyed generally the route, but until that point, I mean, I think there's definitely a little bit of work to do in terms of the signage, in terms of the marshalling of it. I think there's work to do. I wasn't the only one that made that mistake, kind of turning off as well. So it's definitely something they're going to have to look at, because it ruined my race and I was on for a good time. So
definitely on the course. There was no K markers, and there was no toilets. which could have gone very sour in some situations, but didn't for us.
No promised. There was supposed to be gels. There were no gels at stations.
Yeah, fewer stations than expected, and no gels at stations. And the route basically back in the city did this kind of 3 switchbacks, and they weren't kind of done that logically. So there was
it was a nightmare.
Tom, you had a good day. We'll talk about that in a minute. But any thoughts on the organisation?
I probably disliked it more than both of you. I think it's an all right marathon if you're looking for sort of a fast time. It's not big marathon, so it's not like Valencia or something where the expo is enormous. You've got queue ahead and really plan your trip. Getting to the start line was really easy if it would have started on time. So I think it's a convenient, simple marathon to do if you just want to go and do a fast time. I think the course is relatively fast. But I also thought it was pretty boring as well. So if you're looking for an exciting marathon where you want to see some beautiful sights, it's not really.
Well, I think that's the other thing. In Bilbao, it's quite a small kind of place. So we were, when we had to go and get our bibs, it was quite easy to get to and kind of walk to. It was kind of like a school gymnasium essentially. But obviously we could walk there. We could get to a lot of places quite easy. Go and see the kind of the tourist kind of landmarks that you could see that you do kind of take in at the end, at the start of the race. So there are those things if you want to see kind of what Bilbao has to offer in terms of the route. We've kind of probably seen, within the time that we've been here, but there's definitely, there's work to be done in terms of the organisation of it. I think from my point of view,
I can see that it would probably be after if indeed this is the first year that they've ever done it. We've done marathons before where it's the first one and there's always problems. Yeah. Although a lot of the problems here probably shouldn't have happened even if it was the first one. Yeah. But I think that. If they fix the route, I think it will be quite a nice marathon, and get it on time and all sorts of things like that. I just don't think it's the most exciting route.
And then the climate, and also just worth mentioning the climate where you are in Bilbao as well. It was good running conditions. If you expect, it's probably not going to be very hot. It generally isn't in Bilbao. But if you like running those conditions, and I actually quite like running those conditions. Not a lot of people will in terms of kind of running a marathon. Those are good conditions.
If it was a UK marathon, that would have been perfect conditions. You just expect it to be hotter when you go away to do it. But it was perfect. Yeah.
I was on the course. I quite like. If you are PB chasing, it's obviously a nightmare if there's no K markers. I wasn't PB chasing today, so that didn't matter to me. But that would be the big problem. But the course is very similar to the kind of runs I do at home when I'm kind of time trialing and doing hard runs. It's long, flat, all the way out to the sea, along the estuary, then back into Bilbao. There's very little actually in Bilbao centre, but along the estuary for the first bit out and the last bit back in, you see a lot of the city, all like the big sites like the stadium and all that. So it's quite nice. And obviously they wanted to give you the crowd with like 3 switchbacks at the end in the city, but that's what the course went a bit mad. But the crowd was great because they only had to stand in one place to see you 3 times, but it didn't really work out in terms of logistically. Right, let's dive into what we've been testing and we'll see how that all went. All right, Mike. The best 22.5 miles you've ever run?
It was going well. I felt good. I felt generally good. So not the marathon test, but it did give me a sense of the things I was testing to get a better sense of how they work in a kind of longer distance anyway. So it wasn't totally useless in terms of the testing. So
I can say I was at the finish line and Mike stampeded up to me. Mike on a 2:46. What the hell's going on? And then he was just furious. But so what were you testing today?
I think the main thing for me was the Huawei Watch GT Runner. Now I have done a lot of testing this, but I haven't done a kind of marathon distance or that kind of distance anyway with it. So what I was looking for was in terms of the kind of GPS performance, actually the battery kind of performance as well, because Huawei always really talks that up, and actually just using the watch as well, what it's like to kind of run with. So I was kind of I had the Garmin Epics to kind of compare the data, but I was trying to focus more on the Huawei. Basically what I found is the data is generally kind of easy to read. One thing I did that I should have done was turn off the heart rate alert, so I was getting constant heart rate alerts, which it's constantly popping up, and once it happens once, it's going to happen again and again and again. In terms of, I did look at my data, and the data actually in terms of the distance tracking was pretty much on par with what the Epics got. I haven't really dug into the maps and the routes yet, but in terms of the kind of distance tracking and the kind of the average pace and things like that, it kind of worked out quite nicely. The other thing was battery life. I had it charged from 100%, it dropped to 70%, so 30% drop off. So I think it was about 20% on the Epics, and obviously that's using it in its optimum GPS mode. Yeah. So okay, I mean it's gonna last, ultimately for amount. If I'd gone the full distance, it would have been fine getting there. So from that point view, it was fine. The only other new thing that I hadn't really tested that distance with the Shokz OpenRun Pro. The main thing I was looking for this is whether that sound quality made any difference in terms of the marathon and the kind of promised EQ modes you're getting in the on the OpenRun Pro. And to be honest, it didn't really change my kind of opinion on it. And also we've done a review and we've got some kind of comparison stuff around the OpenRun Pro. They were really comfortable to wear. I mean, that's not a problem that you find with the Shokz, and the OpenRun Pro is exactly the same. So for comfort, okay sounds, kind of battery life was actually what I expected as well.
Good thing about these is you can hear marshals. And
That's true. I mean, I don't want to happen if I probably would have been all over the place at the beginning of the race. So yeah, those are fine. And then apart from that, really nothing kind of new. I was in the meta speeds again. I was coasting in those. Really, I felt great in those, and they're still a great shoe for me in terms of that marathon. Well, almost marathon distance, and I kind of enjoyed being back running in those again. So those are the kind of the main things. Everything else I've stuck to in terms of what I used in Berlin, but those are the main things for me that I kind of tested, and it was okay. The things were okay up to that 22.5 miles basically.
We will say Mike was on for about 3:14. It would be a nice PB.
Yeah.
Very unhappy. Very unfair.
So Nick, you did do the full marathon. What was your time?
I ran a 2:36 today.
2:36. How did it feel? Felt good?
It's good. So I had not done a lot of marathon treks. I was meant to be pacing you lads here. I was going for a nice easy run, but so I've only done like a 50-mile long run. So basically the idea was to run nice and calm to 30k, get back in the city, put some music on and blast out the last 10k and it worked beautifully. I had a really, really good time. If that had been a race I was running hard without kilometre markers, I'd have been losing it. I mean, so annoyed, but today it was fine. Ran just on feel and really enjoyed it.
And you had a lot of kit, and you a lot of stuff. So where do you want to start?
I'll start with a quick word on the shoes. We're going to do a full video on this, the Salomon Phantasm CF soon for the marathon test. But basically, because it wasn't an all-out marathon, I thought I could test loads of new stuff. And actually, some of that stuff is going to make my, a marathon race kit. The Salomon won't. Because I do think there's lighter, faster options out there, things like the Nikes and all that, but it was really good today. It was really comfortable, much more comfortable than I expected, more comfortable than the Adios Pro 2 has been on long runs. That was a shoe I was going to use today until I got these on Thursday. It's got a lovely roll through to it, and obviously early on, so I spent most of the race running kind of 350, 340s, and then I ran low 330s for like the final 10k, and it had that pace at the end. That's on to my actual marathon pace, the last 10k or so. And I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic, grip well. I think it's going to be a durable shoe. It's going to be comfortable. It's the kind of shoe I'm going to end up using for lots of training. The big problem with it is probably the price, which is 200 quid for not being. I still don't think it's a top tier carbon shoe. That's a big problem, but it is a bit more stable and firm than some of those other options.
Okay. What else do we have?
We were quick words. So I used the Sunto today, which we've been testing lately. It's a Sunto 9 Peak. Big feature it's got is snap to GPS, snap to route. So I downloaded the official Bilbao Bizkaia route, put it on this, and the idea is that when you're running, it will use that GPS track to pace. So you basically, it will ignore all GPS problems. It will just pace you correctly. I had the route on this. Despite all of that, it was much worse than the Garmin Epics. So it was further out at the end. It was like another, this had 42.46, which is probably about right with turns and stuff, and this had 42.9. Early on, the pacing was completely gone. Okay. And it's like, that's a killer feature for me on this. I thought that might really be good, especially around the start, which was very high buildings in the city, but it was immediately telling me I was running just like 10, 20 seconds quicker on that lap than I was. So unfortunately,
not quite the dream feature, basically.
No, I really like the idea of that feature, but in the end, if you go in races and you want dead accuracy, then download an app for Garmin, like it's called Peter's Race Pace. There's other ones that basically let you adjust the distance every time you pass the lap marker, if you are worried about that.
Cool. What else have we got?
Some more. Now we've got some real triumph. So we've got two bits of
stuff.
kit. 2 bits of kit that are now going to be in my A marathon race when I do Berlin next year. This is the Decathlon Kip Run Marathon Belt. This is 20 quid, and it's the best running belt for the marathon I find. I think you've got pockets all the way around, big pockets. I had a 250ml bottle in this, plus 2 150ml bottles, my phone, and 2 gels, all carried really comfortably, tight against you, no bouncing. Worked an absolute charm, and that was in combination with the Saysky Pace shorts, which have 2 pockets on the outside. So these are just half tights with 2 extra pockets. So I had 2 more little bottles in there, 150ml soft flasks. So that was basically my nutrition system, but also just these are really comfortable, these shorts. Typically I'll use the Saw half tights as my racing shorts, and they're fantastic. They're really comfortable. They're a bit thinner, a bit more aggressive, if anything. They don't have any storage, and today That's like, you know, for marathon pace in general, I found these really comfortable. These would be the shorts I'd go for probably in Berlin. And there's also another pocket on the back there if you want to put some headphones.
That's a big one then for you.
Yeah, so basically storage is great and you carry all that stuff comfortably. And speaking of headphones, another bargain option, another 20 quid option, like the Decathlon belt, is the JLab Go Air Pop.
Yeah.
We just call them the JLads.
Yeah.
They're 20 quid.
Yeah.
And they're in-ear headphones, they're quite big. I worried they wouldn't be that comfortable, but actually they were really comfortable. And the reason I realised was because they did start to squirm out of my ear a little bit, but I wear a headband, so they were held in place.
Yeah. I
listen to podcasts most of the way, and like I say, music for the last 10, 12k. The sound quality is really perfectly good.
Yeah.
They're great for travelling because you don't need to take a charging cable. They come with that, so they just plug into whatever USB thing you have. For 20 quid, they're an absolute steal. I really think they're the match of headphones.
No, I mean, I've used those as well. And for £20, I mean, it just shows that you don't have to spend a lot to get good headphones.
Yeah, and battery life's 8 hours. So that was good because that meant I took them out of their case to go down to the marathon start, which then didn't happen for a couple of hours. But even though they're in my pocket losing battery, I knew they were still going to last me the race.
Yeah, cool.
Música de la República.
All right, Tom. PB today, very successful. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, I actually wasn't really expecting anything from this race. My only aim was to beat Mike.
Yeah.
Considering Mike didn't finish it.
You did beat him, yeah.
It's still unbeaten. I aimed to do about 3:24 to just to beat my London time.
Yeah.
But my strategy was go all out as fast as I can for as long as I can.
Awful strategy. I can't believe it's.
And got a 3:12.
Yeah.
So pretty happy with that. Did find it quite hard though. The second half I really did struggle, but I was pretty pleased.
Fantastic. And big thing you were testing today was the Alphafly, which you've. I know one of your Ks on your run was quite slow because you had to go and retrieve a piece of your shoe, I believe.
Yes. So before I talk about that, I'll just mention that. So the Alphaflys I have used for a 10k before.
Yeah.
I liked it, but didn't like it as much as the Vaporfly for the 10k. I just felt it was a little bit clumpier, but I wanted to try it for a marathon.
Yeah.
Because you've been banging on about it for so long, and now it's really good for marathons. So when I first started wearing the Alphafly yesterday, one thing that I did notice was that I did have the arch issue.
Yeah.
Where there's a bit of pain in the arch section of the foot. So I was pretty worried this morning when I got up and put it on.
Walk.
I was a little sure about that. It was fine throughout the race. I could feel it a bit, and I was about halfway. I was worried that it was going to start becoming a problem. It was fine, not an issue. But there was a problem. When I got to about 15k, I suddenly I felt something was on the bottom of my foot, and I thought I must have trodden on something, and it stuck to my foot. What it was actually was bear in mind this is the first time I've worn these shoes. The outsole was flapping off when I was running, so I had to just stop and pull it off and stick it in my pocket. So that was a bit of a shock. I've never actually heard of that happening ever on an Alphafly.
No, you always hear about the AirPods popping, but never that.
Yeah. So
luckily, they didn't need a lot of grip on today's course, it's fair to say.
Yeah, it did affect me a bit because it did feel slightly lopsided.
A bit softer,
but it was fine. It obviously didn't have a major issue on me, but surprising that.
Well, I didn't know Mike was up quite late last night hacking at your shoes. So
yes. Well, he probably shouldn't have spent more time looking at the map.
You like Mike also ran the OpenRun Pro today, yeah? Yeah,
so OpenRun Pros, won't go too much into these because Mike's already mentioned them. I'm a big fan. I think they did a fantastic job. I would say, as Mike said, the sound isn't amazing. I do think they're louder. I actually had to turn them down at one point because I thought they were a bit too loud.
Never turned down open, that's incredible.
I was listening to a lot of sort of basic dance music and I wanted to hear a little bit more ambient noise. So the sound that I had it up to, I couldn't really hear too well the people shouting, the marshals. So I think they're great. I think they did a great job. I had no issues with them at all. Connectivity was fine. Skipping songs was fine. Managing the volume was fine. So I was really pleased with them and definitely didn't have any issues with them at all in the room.
Nice one. And then on your wrist, you had the Garmin Instinct 2 Solar, right? And I looked at Tom's GPS track, and it was good, really good. Like, it's similar to the Instinct, similar to the Epic's, just slightly wobblier, but the distance was bang on, pretty much, right? Yeah,
I think it was a great job. I was actually a little bit worried because there was no kilometre markers or mile markers on the route. I was getting quite tired towards the end of the race, and I was trying to work out the distance in the final bit, and I was thinking, oh no, what if my instinct's wrong?
Yeah.
What if it's out by a kilometre or 2 kilometres? Sometimes I'll do a race and it's 2 kilometres out and suddenly you've got to do 2 more.
Yeah.
So I was a bit worried. It was spot on almost. It was really good. And I also think that the screen was fine. I I've used the Instinct I've used it for a lot of runs, but I've not used it for any races. I did use it for Brighton Half last week.
Yeah.
And I did say in the video that we reviewed it that it was a little bit tricky to sort of see the pace straight away when you're used to using the Phoenix. I used Phoenix 6. It's only taken me a week or so, and I'm really used to it now, and I just think it's a really nice, simple interface, and it gives me all the information I need for that marathon. So I was very pleased with it. It worked very well, and just very comfortable.
Nice. I think it's worth actually showing the last word is, as someone who meticulously plans out nutrition, plans it in a miles in advance, Tom went and bought 4 Decathlon gels while we were here and used them, worked a charm. So you can just go for the cheapest, easiest, most accessible gels.
Yes, but I would say that I was just telling Mike this earlier that it got to about 20 miles and my stomach did start rumbling.
And there were no toilets, of course, so it's a big risk.
Yeah, so I suddenly there was a lot of worries for me on this race. But I did start getting worried. It was fine, it's gone now, but there was a point where I had done a race before, Brighton Marathon. I tried a load of new gels and I used the toilet a lot in that race, but there were toilets on that race. So I was a little bit worried, but it was fine. Enjoyed the Decathlon gels.
Yeah, well done. Anyway, well done on the PB, the only PB today. Yeah.
Well, it's just someone's got to do it.
So obviously we filmed that initial race reaction in Bilbao, and then a couple of hours later, actually the official results came out, and I had been disqualified from the race, which obviously came as a big shock to me. I had no suspicion that was going to happen, as you can probably tell from the rest of the video. I ran a marathon distance on the route as I knew it, as I was guided, and I was very surprised to be disqualified. Actually, loads of runners were disqualified, so looks like about 1 in 10 were kind of disqualified from the race. Basically, I sent them an email, and I chased them for 2 days, basically, and I finally got an answer tonight saying I missed a timing chip at kilometre 34. No idea how I could have missed that. I was on the route as guided. My Strava clearly shows that, which I sent to them, but yeah, I apparently missed this timing mat. Now, obviously, with so many people disqualified, I think this has happened to quite a few people. So some people were sent the wrong way, like Mike, and then some people probably had this same problem I had. I noticed someone else on their Facebook group was running his first marathon and was disqualified and didn't know why. He'd run the whole route. So yeah, it's a pretty horrible feeling for me, and I wasn't, going all out in this marathon. I wasn't on for a PB or anything, but I can only imagine what it's like if you were running your first marathon or on for a PB and thought you'd run a PB, had crossed the line having run the route, and then found out later you were disqualified for reasons that you can't really work out why. Like, how could you have missed the timing mat? But yeah, it's just all adds up to the kind of general disarray around this race with all the other problems we've mentioned. So if the Bilbao Marathon does return in this form next year, certainly wouldn't be one I'd recommend. Bilbao's a lovely city, and the Bilbao Night Marathon sounds very good by all accounts, but yeah, this Bilbao Day Marathon is one to avoid on kind of every count. Okay, so that's us recording live from Bilbao. I hope you enjoyed our race test. We'll be back with some... Mike, you're doing a more in-depth review of the... Huawei. Yeah. We do a separate marathon / review of the Salomon as well, the Salomon shoe, for if you want more shoe chat and things like the design and comparisons. Brilliant. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Adios.